teenager I saw such things, I felt less revulsion than pity. For some reason I can't explain, I found myself overcome by a great burden to pray for their children, the mixed-race offspring of these prostitutes and their boorish Americans. But my American lover was different. He had a tenderness about him, an inner tranquility that was so strong and sure I was overpowered by its magnetism. When he was with me, I felt such a sense of security that nothing could harm me, not the terrifying rockets that came in the night, nor the random bombs that exploded in the markets by day, nor the salacious whispers of my friends and family, nor even the disgust of my anatomy professor, who had to keep reminding me to keep focused on my dissection. "Gonthan," he would intone, "if you intend to be a doctor, you must first get through this class." I would apologize many times, bow very low, and pretend to be absorbed in my lab. And then, when Professor Hung wasn't looking, I would smile and cast a glance at my lover, who was still waiting for me patiently, as I knew he would be, just outside the door. When I finally finished my work and left the classroom, he would walk me out of the building as if I were a queen. My friends were green with envy. I could see their jealous looks and hear the hushed whispers, but I didn't care. My lover was with me, and that was all that mattered. We didn't touch or even say a word. We simply walked quietly down the steps of Minduk Medical School and onto the hot, dusty street, where we hopped on our motorcycles and rode off into the evening. Perhaps the dreams made me oblivious to what was going on in Saigon right under my nose. It was the spring of 1975, and my country was on the cusp of an historic political cataclysm. Although I was 20 years old, I hadn't the foggiest sense that a maelstrom was swirling around me. I did notice one thing strange. I would be sitting in class one day, and the messenger would come to the door, call out the name of one of the students, and he would be gone. Not just gone for the moment, but gone for good. It happened a couple of times a day. One minute, a classmate like Hiep, the son of a prominent Air Force general, would be sitting next to me, and the next minute he'd be rushing out the door like the March Hare, as if he had forgotten an important appointment. We never saw him again. These disappearances continued with increasing frequency. There was my friend Mi Li, the daughter of a wealthy banker, and then Bao, the son of an official attached to the American embassy. After that came Tran, Von, and Nian, until the class had more seats that were empty than full. At first no one spoke of what was happening. We simply hung out with our friends as we always had, laughing at some silly joke over a bowl of noodle soup, or comparing notes on an upcoming exam. But before long, the whispers started. "Did you notice there aren't as many Americans around?" someone said, sotto voce. "I hear they're all leaving." Another confided, "I saw my cousin Book yesterday. He was a soldier up north in Hue, and now he's home for good. He says units are retreating all over the countryside." "How about our classmate, Diep? I hear she left for Paris with her brothers and sister." Toward the middle of April, the rumors of a North Vietnamese assault on the south were thick as a plague of grasshoppers, but we had nothing to confirm them. We tried looking through Time and Newsweek, which were readily available in Saigon, but the government regularly censored the Far East editions, and decisions about the war never quite made it to their pages. My family did have one potential source of real information. My older brother, Fong, who had graduated from California State Polytechnic Institute and was now working in San Francisco. But we hadn't heard from him in months, so we were left, like most everyone else in Saigon, to try to discern the truth of what was going on and fend for ourselves. We had no powerful connections or financial clout to buy our way out of the country, as many of my classmates did. If we hoped to leave Vietnam, we would have to find our own way. My mother, who was always enterprising about such things, started to dig up information by talking to everyone she knew. One friend told her it might be possible for me to arrange a fake marriage license showing that I was married to an American. With such a document, the woman said, the American embassy would give me an exit visa. As tempting as the idea was, other friends counseled against it. "I've heard that people end up losing their money and never get the marriage certificate," they said. "It's just a scam." The rumors kept flying, and we kept running, first here and then there, to find a shred of real information. When my mother heard that there might be some tidbit to be had at the local city hall, she sent me on my bike to hang out and listen. When I arrived there, the place was so crowded I couldn't even wedge myself inside the door. I had to wait in a field outside with hundreds of others who had obviously heard the same rumor. All around me, people were tense and anxious. I could see them scanning the crowd for a friendly face who might give them a piece of news. But there was no news that day that could help any of us, and as the truth of our predicament began to sink in, I did what I had always done ever since I was a child. I began to pray. "If you want us to leave," I told God, "you'll have to show us how." All my life, I had felt free to put questions to God, and in various ways he had never failed to answer. Why should I expect any less of him now? I just knew that our position at that moment appeared to be hopeless, and if indeed a way out of Vietnam existed for my family, the specific details would have to be divinely orchestrated. "Chi Huang! Chi Huang! Open the gate! It's me! Open up!" Because of a 24-hour curfew, which had just been imposed a few weeks earlier, we regularly kept the gate of our family compound closed and locked. Now, someone was banging loudly, clamoring to get in. For some reason, he was calling out Chi Huang, or Elder Sister Huang, the familiar name of our nanny. "Who could it be?" asked Mother. "Don't open the door." Still the gate rattled, and the male voice shouted again, "Chi Huang! The gate! Please open it!" "It sounds like Master Fang," our nanny said. "That's impossible," retorted my mother. "Fang's in America." At the very mention of my brother's name, my sister, brothers, and I rushed out the door to our house and up to the gate, where my very bedraggled brother Fang was standing outside, grasping the iron bars. Nanny opened the gate, and he quickly slipped inside the compound, where we crowded around him in awe and excitement. I barely recognized him. When he had left Vietnam nearly 8 years before, he had been a skinny teenager with a sophisticated veneer of slicked-back hair, tailored designer jackets, and luxurious Pierre Cardin ties. Now he was a grown man, strikingly handsome, well-fed, and brimming with confidence. His hair was so long it nearly brushed his shoulders, and in his tight Levi's and denim jacket, he looked every inch an American. My mother took one look at him and almost fainted. "Why did you come home?" she asked, with a look of fear in her eyes. "You were safe. You had life. Why are you here?" "I had to come," he said. "I tried to write. I even tried to send a telegram. When I couldn't reach you, I hopped a plane to Guam and then got a lift here as a volunteer on a Red Cross helicopter." The urgency in his eyes riveted our attention and rendered us speechless as he continued. "You must leave the country immediately," he said. "There is no hope left. The only chance you have is to get out with me, because now I'm an American citizen." For a long while, nobody said a word. We just looked at him, unable to speak, as the enormity of what was happening to us began to sink in. Then, all of a sudden, we broke into smiles and started tittering with giddy laughter. "Yes, yes," we all agreed. We would go tomorrow to the American embassy, as Fang had said. He was an American now, a citizen, and that meant everything would be all right. He was sure of it. The next morning, the house took on an air of celebration. It was as if someone had flicked a switch, turning the stark and scary darkness of our lives into an incredible burst of light. With Fang in our midst, we felt hopeful and safe, filled with expectation about our future life in America. Here was our hero, the bold rescuer, who had been born, appropriately, in the year of the tiger, who was going to bring us to the promised land. For breakfast, our nanny spread out a feast. Delicate crepes known as ban quan, filled with savory meat, sticky rice with coconut milk, lemon sauces, tea, and the ubiquitous pho.